In this video, I'm going to cover some of the techniques you can use when trying to create some of your graphics for your speaker project. So in my example that I did, I chose to use a speaker icon, and I used a pattern of all small little holes at a 1/16 of an inch diameter to create that speaker icon. Some of the things that you want to make sure of is that your hole size is correct if you are using the same technique that I did, and you want to watch out for your spacing between the holes. You want to try and keep it to about 1/8 of an inch, and what I'm talking about is kind of like from this hole to this hole or from this hole to this hole. If those holes get too close in the cut layer and the laser cutter cuts them out, it may end up turning into like a big gaping hole because it all just falls out. So you have to keep that in mind when we're making these cuts for your graphics when it comes to the speaker project. So you get to choose what you want to do on the top piece, the front, the back, and then if you want to also create holes around where the speaker is going to go in. So this hole is where your two speakers go inside of it, the Bluetooth. You can create any type of pattern or graphic. You can add text. So mine is just an example. You could do whatever you want on any of these. So you can go ahead and pick your design, your layout, and let's talk about some of the other things that you could do. And then we'll go over the techniques. So the first thing you want to do is go locate some type of image. It could be a simple icon, a logo, a silhouette. Want to try and keep this shape simple and easy to create a pattern maybe with. And it doesn't also have to be circles. You could create like some rectangular shapes. What we don't want is big gaping holes where you can kind of see the interior guts of the speaker where like the wiring is and all that stuff. We just want a lot of small holes or a lot of small lines, so it could be a line pattern as well to allow light to come out, but again, not gaping holes so you could see like really what's going on inside of there. So we're trying to keep it aesthetically pleasing to the eye as well. So when you go to Google, let me see if I have something up here. You can maybe search like clip art silhouette to kind of start to look up maybe some ideas. Like when I looked up mine, I looked up a speaker icon is what I Googled. So it's going to be kind of up to you and how you want to do it. It could be like if you did these mountains, so to speak, you could do like these as just lines. And then you could kind of create like rectangular or triangular shapes. And then you could pattern that down. So, you know, I want you to be creative and kind of come up with a design on your own. You know, like this dinosaur might get a little bit intricate, but it is possible. So there are ideas. It's just how much work you want to put into it and how much time you want to put into it to create something that you want. And again, this is just one quick example. You can do a lot of different searches, you know, icons or icon clip art. You know, you can kind of look at some of this stuff, or you can look up, you know, logo, maybe silhouette. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. There we go. You know, you can kind of start to maybe look up some stuff like this to kind of come up with some different ideas. And, you know, again, I'm just showing you one example. I used a pattern to create this. You know, you don't necessarily have to do that. But again, you want to try and allow light to come out of the box so we can get the, so that way when the light or the music plays, the lights will beat to it, or you could just turn the lights permanently on or off depending on what you want. Alright, so that's kind of my quick overview. Now let's talk about how to bring in a picture and then how to actually start creating the graphic. So what should you have done right now? You should have the top piece, and I didn't label these correctly. I just noticed that. You should have the top and the bottom done, the front and the back done, and then the left and the right. I just need to relabel these. So you should have all 6 pieces done and ready to go, just like you see here. And then now we're going to start adding our graphics maybe to the top, the front, and you're going to pick which one you're going to work on to start off. It's up to you. I'm just going to do an example of how to do it down here. So the first thing you'll need to do again is go find that graphic, make sure it's a JPEG file, and save it into your speaker project folder. Then what you're going to want to do is come back to AutoCAD, switch to the construction layer. You're going to click the insert ribbon up top and then click attach. So we're going to go, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to use this piece to do the example, but you'll see down here a finished version. So I'm going to go insert, attach. You're going to search up here and go to your speaker project folder and then go find that image that you saved. Again, you want it to be a JPEG. Click open. You want to make sure that specify on screen is selected for the insertion point and specify on screen is selected for the scale. And then what you're going to do is somewhere in like a lower left inside corner, I'm going to turn off snap because I don't want to snap to that. I'm going to pick the insertion point. So this is where it's going to start to insert it. And then once you left click, you're now determining the scale. That's those two check boxes that we just did. So you're determining how big it's going to be, and then left click again. If you're not happy with it, just click on the image, press delete, and get rid of it. I'm going to do an undo. If you wanted to click it and resize it still, you can click on it, and I believe you can click, I think you can click these, I don't know. I thought you could. Maybe not. I don't think it's letting me resize. So if you're not happy with the size, just delete it and bring it back in. If you have a really bright image and you want it to be a little bit more transparent so you can trace on top of it, mine's pretty easy because it's a dark image and I'm using a bright pink layer. But if yours is a little bit hard to see, you can click on the edge of the picture and adjust the fade up in the menu up here by clicking and dragging that, and you can fade the picture and make it more transparent if you'd like. And then just hit escape to get out of it. So that's how you bring in your image at the correct size that you want. So where am I at? I'm on step 6. In the construction layer, you're going to use a polyline to create the perimeter path. So that's this line right here. And notice when I clicked on it, it's one consecutive line. That's because I used the polyline option up here. A polyline is all one object when you create it. It's not individual lines, and that's important. And then just so you know, as you're creating this, you can switch between lines and arcs in the polyline just by right-clicking. So, and then at the very end, you want to right-click and click close. So let me show you what I mean by all that. I'm in the construction layer. I'm going to go polyline, pick a spot to start. I'm going to start right here. It doesn't have to be perfect, so keep that in mind. I'm going to turn off my ortho because I don't want to draw a straight line here. I want to go on an angle. I'm going to stop right at about the edge. If you have an arc, I'm going to stop at the edge of it. Left click, and then now to draw the arc, I'm going to right click and go to arc. And then now I can choose the arc. If you have F8 turned on, turn off your ortho and your arc will look a little bit better. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to left click. I'm going to right click and go back to the line tool. And then I'm going to hit F8 to turn on my ortho to draw a straight line. Stop a little short of the circle. Right click, go back to arc. Turn off my ortho so I can draw that arc. Maybe something like that. And then right click and go back to line. Draw that in. Go over, F8, draw a straight line. Stop a little short. F8 to turn it off. Right click and go to arc. Draw that arc. Till I'm happy. Looks good. Right click line. F8 to draw a straight line going up. Stopping a little short, and then right click arc, F8 to turn off ortho. I'm going to reference, I'm going to turn on my endpoint and reference this point to draw this arc, so that way those two lines line up. That looks good. Go straight across, snap to that, right click, close. Now I have a closed polyline. When you click on that, it looks good. If you had a weird spot where an arc is kind of meeting another line and it doesn't look good, you can go ahead and go to parametric and add a tangent constraint between an arc and a line if you're getting a weird spot between an arc and a line. So keep in mind you can use that geometric constraint if that helps. So that's how you create the path or the perimeter path to go ahead and start working towards doing something like this, which is what I'm going to go over next. So what I would do right now is go ahead and do a save, and we have pretty much what we need for this part of the speaker. If I wanted to do these parts, I would do exactly what I just did here, but I'm going to just do one arc right here, because if you notice in my finished example, where are you? Sorry. If you look, the pattern is just an arc. So for this one, I just drew one arc. That's it, a polyline, and then I traced the circles along it. I didn't trace the perimeter like I did for this circle. So that's showing you another way you can create a pattern. Instead of creating a perimeter line, just create the arc. So keep that in mind. You could do that same thing depending on what graphic you have. So like I could just create, and actually I'll just do it, I guess. Let's see, construction. Oh, whoops, I'm in the wrong file. There we go. So I could go construction, I could do an arc, and I could do that right there, and then I can use that as well and do the same thing. So after you get your path made, the next thing we want to do is start patterning a circle along it. So like this, and like this, right? But how do you do that over here? Well, the first thing you'll want to do is, well, we need to offset the path. So this path needs to go in about, 0.125. So what I'm going to do is click on the path, type in offset, and then type in my distance, which is 0.125, and then I'm just going to go in. So I'm going to left click. It's still in the offset, so I'm going to left click, go in, left click, go in, left click, left click, go in, left click. Now, the smaller you go, the closer the holes are going to get. So with this example, I'm probably not going to keep going in and in like this, because then the holes might get too close to one another. So just keep that in mind. Sooner or later, we're going to have to stop. And I'm going to probably get rid of this one and just keep this as my last offset. And then I would do the same thing with this. So offset, enter for the distance, 0.125, I would go there, and then I would repeat for these. So now let's say you got all of your paths done, but we need the circles patterned along the path. So I'm going to start with the outermost one just to show my example here. And this is going to be done in your cut layer. So I'm going to go cut. And then let's see, we're going to draw a 0.625 circle, so that's a 1/16 circle somewhere along an endpoint of that polyline. So like an endpoint is going to be like maybe right here. So I'm going to go circle, click the center of the circle, hit D, enter on the keyboard to enter the diameter, and then I'm going to type in 1/16, enter. So I just created a 1/16 diameter circle on the endpoint of the path somewhere. Now that I got the circle, I can pattern that circle along this polyline. So I can go up here in my modify panel. Yours is probably set to rectangle right now. Drop that down and go to path array. You're then going to click on the circle, hit enter on the keyboard, click the path, and it's going to look really weird. What you want to do is choose your base point. So I'm going to click on base point, and I'm going to click the center of the original circle. The moment I do that, it should look good. And then I'm going to click that measure drop down tool up here and choose divide. And then click, where are you? Was it, did I do the right thing? I don't remember what I wrote in my directions. Yeah, divide option. I thought it was divide, yeah. And then hit escape. It should then divide the distance equally for that. So now that that is all set, oh, and I forgot to do something. Hold on, I'm going to hit Control Z. Let me undo that. Let's try that one more time. Path, array, click on the circle, hit enter, click the path, and then I'm going to go ahead and adjust the base point, so the center of the original. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to click the center of the circle. make sure that associative is checked. If that is not, let me know. And then you may need to drop this down and use the divide option and click on the center of one of your circles, and you can adjust the divide, like how far they're spaced apart. So that might be an option. If it looks good already, then you should be okay. If it doesn't and it looks like weird at a certain point, you might need to use that divide option. If it already looked good, you don't have to. So make sure that you're happy with the pattern and then hit close. So then everything that I just did for that, I'm going to do again for this path, this path, this path, this path, and this path. So a lot of repetition here. And then you're going to do the same thing here. You could draw a circle and then path array along that. Same thing here, same thing here. And if you need to adjust paths a little bit, if you're not happy with them, you can always click and drag them a little bit to tweak them. So that's how you can create the pattern of circles for the holes that are going to get cut out to allow light to come out of your speaker. So you want to come up with, and again, your graphic, it can be a graphic and engraved text. So you may have stuff getting cut out, which is in the red cut layer. And then if you want text or something on the top, like it has a name or a saying or a quote or song lyrics, whatever you can think of, just make sure you switch to your engrave layer, which is right here, and then use your text tool. You can pick your font, the size of your font, whatever you want to do there. And then again, you're going to repeat whatever you want on the other pieces. So this is the front, top and bottom, front, yeah, so you could do the front and the back, and then the left and the right, whatever you want on those. And the same thing with the pattern around the speaker, you pick. Do whatever you want, be creative with this. And then we'll talk later about how to submit for your laser cutting.